Hello everyone, Science Viking here, and it's time to return to Myth 2 Soulblighter. In the last episode, Shiver and the Deciever basically mutually annihilated each other. Well, let's see what Ulrich is doing.
Saturday, April 25th, the foot of Tharsis. The tales of Ulrich's swordsmanship cannot begin to describe what I have just witnessed. He possesses the sword Valmonk, and wields it with such skill that the magics contained therein spring forth to strike his enemies down. In this man, Soulblighter has truly met his match. The whole of the Legion has been steeling itself for this, the final confrontation with Soulblighter. He is cornered and desperate, making the fight that much more terrible. We engaged his main force 2 days ago, and have been pushing it back toward the cloud spine ever since. Our casualties number nearly half of our force, but it is certain that we have inflicted far greater damage than we received. We have Soulblighter's army caught between the cloud spine, the Ire River, and Tharsis, the legendary forge of the Trowel. With the Deceiver in possession of part of his being, Soulblighter no longer has the ability to escape. We will succeed, for to falter now would be to betray those who have gone before us.
Yeah, we have Soulblighter cornered, which means he's gonna fight harder than he ever has before to try to take us down. Mission objectives. Soulblighter is across the river. Kill him. Play co-op with your friends and have even more fun killing him. Yeah, this game has not only online multiplayer, but online co-op, where you just divvy up the units between the different players. It can be a lot of fun. Hints. Units who show up on the overhead map as blue are outside your control. You can use them as buffer and retrieve their dropped objects, but you can't direct them in battle. So we can retrieve their mandrake roots, fire arrows, etc., but they're AI controlled. By himself, Ulrich is nearly equal to a full squad or more in strength and toughness. Don't let Ulrich get too far ahead of the 7th Legion yet. Don't get too close to Ulrich while he's wielding his sword. Ulrich's sword is a powerful weapon against massed forces, including your own, even if by accident. Remember, you can heal Ulrich. The Mahir is a shadow creature which takes corporeal form to drain the life of living beings. They can be targeted when they're attacking or standing still. Pick up the roots and flame arrows dropped by dead Heron guards and bowmen. Soulblighter can be lured out of his defensive position. Yeah, this level has a lot of hints. And this, though, starting with this hint, this is actually part of a patch that I'm using, so we don't need to... So, this doesn't pertain to what I'm doing since we're not playing co-op. I will include a link in the description, by the way, to where I got the patch that I'm using that contains these modifications, though. Yeah. See this? Remember when we were looking for the Ibis crown and we found that lightning sword? That was so powerful? This is that lightning sword. Ulrich has it now. Anyway, before we proceed and finally take Soulblighter down, I am going to get us a fresh recording file. I will be back in a moment. Okay, I am back. I have a lovely fresh recording file. Now let's go kill some things. Now, Ulrich is capable of doing 90% of the work in this mission all by himself with Balmung. However, there are a handful of specific threats that he will not be able to deal with himself. And so our job is basically to stay alive until we encounter the few specific things that we have to take care of for Ulrich, and otherwise to just let Ulrich do most of the fighting. But as you can see, the enemy kind of seems to know this. They're not attempting to fight Ulrich. They're just, the Mircridia are just running past him to try to kill my regular unit. Because I guess they realize that they can't possibly kill Ulrich, but that my regular units will be necessary later, and so they're trying to kill them before they can do their job. Now Ulrich needs to move over here to intercept this large group of Myrcridia, because it'll be very hard for us to take them out ourselves. But a lot less hard for Ulrich to do so. Okay, he's softened them up significantly. And there are few enough Myrcridia remaining that I'll just let my melee units take care of them. Okay, and that's the end of the Myrcridia. Now, if you were watching closely, you will have seen some thrall submerge themselves in the water. And if you weren't watching closely, well, some thrall submerged themselves in the water. The thrall will not come out of the water to attack Ulrich. And here we see the AI-controlled units sending their berserks and Heron guards after fetch, because we all know what a wonderful idea that is. So I'm going to use the melee units to lure the thrall out of the water so that Ulrich can kill them. You need to be careful because at the opposite side of the river there are fetch. There are also wights interspersed with the thrall. Okay, Ulrich, kill the thrall quickly so the expendables don't end up there. Okay, that's good. Now do the same on the other side. Never mind. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to be able to use Balmung against these guys because not going to be able to use Balmung against these thrall because my allies insist on attacking them in melee. Also, the expendables over here will actually attack the wight in melee combat if they get the chance. Yep, this berserk is going for it. He's going for it. He's gonna jam his thumb into that electrical socket, and yes, that is what happens when you attack a wight in melee combat. You shouldn't do that. And then the melee units, having successfully killed the wight, are now going to go after the fetch. Because the bowmen over here, yeah, we don't need them to take out the fetch. Let's just use melee to take them out. Anyway, I'm going to send my bowman to try to rescue the melee unit getting all blown up. Well, that's the end of the melee. For some reason, the southern group tends to lose all of their melee units really quickly, but the northern group manages to hold out a lot longer. Like, the northern group is still mostly intact, but the southern group is just... It's bowmen now. All they have left is bowmen. I don't know why that is, but I've done this level a few times, and that happens consistently. Anyway, now we want to set up here, and the trick is not to move Ulrich too far forward. Because the issue is, when Ulrich gets past a certain point, it will trigger a cutscene where he will walk up and confront Soulblighter, and they'll taunt each other a little bit. And once the cutscene begins, all of my units will be stuck and won't be able to move anymore. So I want to get everybody into formation before we begin the cutscene so that we're ready for the fight that will ensue afterwards. If we start the fight while we're severely out of formation, things tend to go very badly. But my regular units, I believe, cannot trigger the cutscene. Only Ulrich can trigger it. So I just need to give everybody else a moment to get into formation. The main issue is that when the cutscene begins, my units don't finish whatever move order I gave them and then stop. They just freeze exactly where they were. So you need to be completely in formation before you initiate the cutscene. Which we will be by the time Ulrich is close enough. So we may as well send him forward. He's already racked up 20 kills. Not bad for being a melee unit. He'll get a lot more before this level is over. And the rest of the AI-controlled units are still just wandering into position. And the cutscene has begun.
Is this all you have left of your pitiful army, Ulrich?
It is more than enough to deal with the likes of you.
And fresh Mircridia, and once again, most of them will try to run past Ulrich. However, you can get lightning to arc between a lot of them, to both provoke a lot of them and kill a large portion of them before they go after the rest of your units. That's the main goal, because this is a lot of Mircridia. It's enough to cause a lot of trouble. Interestingly, the way that the lightning arcs between units is very similar to the way that the Dispersal Dream behaves with its contagious explosion. And you can exploit this to create long chains of enemies that all die together. Okay. And we've reached the point where melee has become necessary. And we lost a Berserk.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's not really anything we can do to save that group of bowmen. They're going to be killed by Mircridia. Instead, we need to get information to take out the Mircridia once they're done killing the bowmen.
I'm moving.
And somehow this group survived. I guess this group does not usually survive that engagement. I guess the Mircridia that would have gone after them went after us instead. Anyway, let's just get some healing in. And the bowmen managed to take out the other Mircridia. Bowmen are more dangerous than you think they are. But for the rest of the mission, we actually don't need the dwarves. So I'm just going to leave the dwarves where they are. There's nothing more the dwarves will be able to contribute. Instead, we're going to need the bowmen, Ulrich, and the melee units. And also, Ulrich would really appreciate some healing. Though, before I forget, unfortunately, this group is no longer with us, and so they're not going to be able to help us, but the last thing that they can contribute is their mandrake roots. The hints even mention that you can pick up mandrake roots from deceased allies, and we're gonna need them. Which means this level, I think, is actually the level that gives us access to the largest number of heals in any single mission. So while the Heron guards are over there collecting the mandrake roots, I'm going to quick move everyone else forward a little bit. And that white explosion sound was caused by the AI bowmen who are still alive.
Moving. Over here. Yeah.
Right. Any more? Yep, there is another one. There's two more. It can be hard to tell because the Heron guards all died in a clump. It can be hard to tell where exactly the mandrake roots are, but we're going to want to hold on to as many of those as we can get.
I'm moving.
As they're likely to be necessary later. Unfortunately, we can't carry them over into the next mission where they'd be even more helpful. So move with Ulrich first. He needs to be a ways ahead of the rest. And then followed by the bowmen, because as the explosion sound effect will have indicated to you, there are whites ahead. While Ulrich is actually the one unit that can safely detonate a white in melee, they do almost no damage to him, that isn't the plan. And, as we can see, this is what became of the bowmen that went ahead of us. This is why you wait for your teammates, guys. Don't just rush in. If you rush in, bad things happen to you. Okay. And it looks like they managed to detonate all of the whites, which is unfortunate because I was actually hoping to use those whites to take out the Mercuridia. Anyway, so Berserk's on one side, Heron Guards on the other. Have Ulrich go after the next group.
Casualty.
Okay, Ulrich cannot... There's nothing more Ulrich can do to help because he doesn't have the option to use a regular sword.
Casualty.
Oh, shit.
Casualty.
Okay, we're down to one... That went a little wrong. We're down to 1 Heron Guard. 5 Obsidian Heron. I think we can succeed with this, but it's very important that we not lose the last Heron Guard. We need him alive to do something later. So one of the ways in which the support units are necessary is that we need the ability to heal Ulrich. So I'm going to have this guy quick collect all of the dropped Mandrake roots. Yeah, that was a bit higher... Okay, he's carrying the maximum he can, which is 6.
Let's go.
That was a bit higher cost than I was prepared for. And now we proceed even deeper into the mountains. And this is the point where we're going to start encountering a new enemy type that we have never encountered before. The Mahir. They were mentioned in the level hint, and the way that they work is they're like these living shadows. They slide along the ground. If you look at them, they look like a shadow that has just detached itself from whatever was casting and it is moving towards you. They're actually one of the fastest units in the game, too. And while they're very fragile, and they don't even do that much damage, here's one now. The issue with them is that their attack has the same effect that the Deceiver's attack has, where while they're attacking a unit, that unit cannot move or attack. It's just paralyzed. And so the issue is, Ulrich cannot take care of the Mahir, because if one of them attacks him, it will just paralyze him and he won't be able to fight back. So he needs to be backed up by other units that can kill any Mahir that attempts to grab him. And so this is another one of the segments where we absolutely need other units supporting Ulrich. And now we've reached Soulblighter, hiding inside his burning ring of fire.
Once again, we sacrifice to increase your own glory.
What would you know of loyalty? The way you say it, it is only a word. You will never succeed.
You will never stop me.
Now, only Ulrich has any chance of beating Soulblighter. However, which of you has the most health? That's you. Only Ulrich has any chance of beating Soulblighter. However, if Ulrich tries to go through this ring of fire, he will take damage, and he will likely take enough damage that he won't be able to survive the fight with Soulblighter. So you have to heal Ulrich up right before the fight begins. And then lose someone to a Mahir you didn't see. Ah, crap. And see previous comments about not being able to kill Mahir with Ulrich. I wasn't prepared for this. Oh, okay, we'll quick rescue you, Al. Sorry about that. Oops. Okay, pull back, pull back. Okay, fortunately we have extra heals because I need to heal Ulrich to full again. The issue is, Soulblighter normally won't come out of his area of protection, and if Ulrich walks through the ring of fire, Ulrich will take enough damage that he won't be able to beat Soulblighter. So instead, I have to lure Soulblighter out by sending a Berserk in to lure Soulblighter into attacking the Berserk, and this will basically cause Soulblighter to go into kill mode and charge after Ulrich. And now Ulrich can attack Soulblighter and has a decent chance of winning. And there we go. Soulblighter won the fight. Or Soulblighter. Ulrich won the fight. That's why Soulblighter is running away. Yeah, Soulblighter won. That's why he's running away. Ulrich defeated Soulblighter, but unfortunately Balmung was broken in the fight, so Ulrich has to resort to using a normal sword now. And we won. It wasn't exactly as clean of a victory as I was hoping for, but we managed it. And no surprise, our top hero was Ulrich with 48 kills in a single mission. Balmung will do that to you. And the casualties were as high as they are because the AI-controlled units were counted as being on my side, and so that's why our kill ratio is 1.6 to 1, and we have so many casualties. Which, really, stop shifting blame, guys. It's not I'm not the one who ordered melee units to attack fetch and whites. Stop trying to shift the blame onto me. Anyway, we've defeated Soulblighter, but we haven't killed him. He managed to escape, which means there's going to be another mission yet. Well, let's see what we have in store for us now.
Monday, April 27th, Tharsis. Soulblighter has done the unthinkable. With his armies scattered in disarray, he fled up through the Eye of Tharsis and into the very bowels of the earth. I can hardly blame him. The sight of Ulrich hacking his way through the enemy, Balmung flashing in his hand, caused many of our own men to stand aside in awe. If it were anyone other than Soulblighter, I am sure we would just wait outside the volcano until they had been roasted alive or had succumbed to the poisonous vapors. Unfortunately, he has survived worse, and we must follow him. None of us are foolish enough to believe that Soulblighter fled because he fears us. If he plans on dying, it will not be quietly or alone. Ulrich believes he has deliberately chosen this place for his final stand. Whether or not he will be able to escape the cataclysm he plans to unleash by destroying Tharsis and shattering the cloud spine must not matter to him anymore. Soulblighter, like Balor before him, seeks not to conquer, but to destroy, to be master of the unthinking dead in their blasted lands. So Ulrich is gathering all who are fit to enter Tharsis. The walking wounded and those weakened by fighting will not be idle either. They will see to it that what is left of Soulblighter's army is returned to the earth. And so I hurriedly record my last thoughts before entering Tharsis, and leave my journal in the care of our surgeon, knowing that I may not return, and that it may not even matter. Either we kill Soulblighter and his minions here, or we die, and the world with us.
So, this is it. The final confrontation between us and Soulblighter. Inside of a volcano, while Soulblighter readies a magic spell to essentially blow up the world. I honestly can't think of a more appropriate setting for a final confrontation. Mission objectives. Soulblighter will shatter the cloud spine unless he is stopped. Ulrich must confront and kill him. Hints. Ulrich has only 3 magical attacks to use. Even large groups of enemies should be disposed of in other ways if your units can handle them. The falling debris within Tharsis doesn't do much damage, except to those units near death. Preserve as many of your troops as possible for the final confrontation.
Isn't stopped, he'll shatter the cloud spine.
And they've actually given us a pretty generous force. In addition to Ulrich, without Balmung, instead having just 3 uses of his old-fashioned contagious exploding, we have 12 Heron Guards, 8 Bowmen, and 3 Dwarves. It's a fairly generous force, and We're gonna need it. This level is very long and very difficult. Anyway, before we start with this final mission, I am going to quick get us a fresh recording file. I will be back in a moment. Okay, I am back. I have a fresh recording file, and it's time to blow up some Thrall. Yeah, the challenging part about this group of Thrall is, one, they're very spread out, which makes them a lot less susceptible to my dwarves, and two, well, there's not a lot of space to back up into. You start the level rather boxed in. Let's see if I can do something about that. However, as long as the Thrall are following the dwarves instead of the bowmen, which they no longer are, as soon as... I didn't even get to finish that sentence before it stopped being true. Okay, Heron Guards go after those Thrall. Alright. And the Heron Guards will have to do a little bit of cleanup, but at least nobody died. Managed to take relatively minimal damage, though I had to contort my guys into a whole bunch of really weird formations in order to make that happen. Thrall are slow, but when they have you up against a wall, they can still be dangerous. The other thing that's important to keep track of in this level is, you don't just need to win the individual engagements, because you also need to take as little damage as possible with each of them, because the issue is, this level is huge, and there are a very large number of enemies in it, which means that it's entirely possible that you can win every fight, but lose enough units and take enough damage during each fight that by the end you just don't have the resources for the final confrontation. So that's really... the enemy's strategy in this level is all about trying to gradually wear you down, more so than about trying to defeat you in any one fight. Start about there. Get you guys, the dwarves, a little farther forward. Because the second group of enemies is up here, and that second group is a doozy.
Sir?
I just need to give the bowman a chance to get into position. Got Mircridia, we got Thrall, and there are even some Soulless up there that we can't see yet. Dwarves forward slightly. Well, it's going to be a lot better if I can force them to fight me on my terms than if I have to fight them on their terms, so I'm going to send a single Heron Guard and lure them towards me. Come on. Come on. You know you want some. And apparently they want some. And the second group saw what happened to the first group and decided, you know what, screw this, we're out of here. We don't want to get blown up, we're running away. Actually, that's a recurring behavior of the enemies in this level, is that they're kind of indecisive. They'll run towards you, and then they'll give up and go back the other way. The other thing is that this group of enemies is basically too wide to sneak past them. And triggering any part of them triggers all of them. So there's no way around having to fight these enemies. And we're just sending in the melee. Okay, get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. Get the dwarves back. Get everyone that's not the bowman back. We need to take out the soulless. Okay, you heal yourself now. We have 12 mandrake roots, one for each Heron Guard, which is a lot, but, well, even that is an amount that you can burn through over the course of this level just because of how much stuff you have to fight. But it's much better to use up a mandrake root than it is to actually lose someone. The other thing is I can't risk having the dwarves try to take out the thrall while there are still soulless floating around there. I've tried that in previous takes, and all that happens is I end up losing a bunch of dwarves. Like, all of them. Okay. Almost. How did you all manage to miss? Okay, looks like we're going to be running all the way back to the beginning of the level, apparently. Okay, let's get some dwarves ready here, because this is a pretty good choke point, and the bridge itself might actually block the Soulless' spears.
Make way for the dwarf. Yeah.
Move over.
Whee. Yeah.
Alright. And now we just get to watch the thrall gradually amble into a wood chipper. Assuming the dwarves don't manage some of the epic friendly fire that they're known for.
What now?
Okay. And... okay, now that the Soulless are gone, it's just cleanup duty for
Yes,
the
sir.
thrall. And if possible, I want to do this without even using the Heron Guards, because, well,
Clear.
melee units tend to take damage when they attack things. In fact, the bowmen have done plenty of work. I'm going to let them finish that thrall off themselves. And now we begin the slow march back to where we started, now that the enemies are all dead. There's going to be a fair amount of that, too, in this level, just kind of backing up to create space while we slowly chip away at the enemy. I think... I'm being completely serious. I think this level has the largest number of enemies of any level in the base game. It has close to 300. The second most, I think, is Ambush at Devil's Overlook. Or, no, not Ambush at Devil's Overlook. The Ambush at Devil's Overlook is one of the ones in the first game. It's the one that takes place at the Stair of Grief. That's the level I'm thinking of. Has, I think, the second most enemies in any single level. But I'm fairly certain this level has even more than that. And in that level, we had those pre-made satchel traps, which made it way easier to take out large groups. In this one, we don't have anything like that. We have to take them all out the old-fashioned way. Well, sort of. I have my 3 dispersal dreams, which I'm going to need for a few specific groups of enemies. But all of the dispersal dreams are spoken for. I have specific groups I want to use each of them on. I've almost made it back to where my units were before we fought that group. Well, technically, we're farther forward than we were as we just kind of step over the gore that was left behind by the Mircridia we took out. And I'm going to stick to the inside area here because the path through this level is basically a really big spiral. So you start here, and Soulblighter is right here. So you start here, and you have to get from here to here, but because we didn't bring any climbing equipment, and apparently climbing equipment hasn't been invented in this setting, so we couldn't just go grab some, we have to take this long roundabout path to get to it. And we found our next target, and that target is 4 Myrcridia and a fetch. And we can also see this group ambling around over here, which we'll have to deal with later. Alright. Okay, come on. Get some Heron guards on each side, along with our good friend Al. And, as usual, send the one Heron guard in as bait. I'd comment on the fact that I haven't actually lost anyone yet in this mission, but frankly, that isn't even really an accomplishment considering how long this mission is. There's also enemies coming in from behind all of a sudden. Okay. Those enemies are Myrcridia in very small numbers.
Stand clear.
Yeah, there are few enough Myrcridia that the Heron guards can just handle them. Unfortunately, a couple of bowmen are injured enough. Whoa!
Yes.
A couple of bowmen are injured enough that one javelin will finish them. Or not. Okay, take out the fetch. Please. Yeah, technically speaking, the animation for the fetch's lightning attack appears before the lightning bolt properly exists. And so sometimes, if you kill a fetch at the last possible second, you will see the lightning animation but not take damage because the fetch died. If that arrow had taken a millisecond longer to reach the target, a lot of people would be dead right now. Anyway, let's heal the most critically injured of the bowmen. And then there's another group of... How can you not reach it? Myth 2 pathfinding, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's get in a position to take out the next group. It's because we can almost sneak past them, but we just barely can't. Right. 7 Heron guards, and then 5 Heron guards and Ulrich. It's really a significant question. What percentage of my Mandrake roots haven't I used yet? I have 1, 2, you need to be over here. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9. Okay, so I've used a quarter. I have used 3 of the 12 they gave me. And yeah, it's another of the same group that we just dealt with, but this time we won't have Myrcridia, Soulless, and Fetch attacking from behind. And the bowmen should open fire as soon as the Myrcridia are in range.
Yeah.
Like that. And the Myrcridia decided to change their minds because they saw the rest of us and decided, nope, we're not messing with that many. We're not messing with that whole force. We're happy to pick on the one Heron guard, but we can't take on that whole group. And so now I need to lure them out again. Like I said, the AI in this level has a tendency to be weirdly indecisive about whether or not it wants to fight. This can be advantageous, but it takes a lot of patience to exploit it properly, and frankly, I don't have the patience to do that. Okay, don't kill that one yet. Too late. I was hoping that one would attack its teammates because it went berserk, but apparently not. And it looks like I'm just gonna be doing this the slow way. Come on. Come on, I've already killed one of you. Don't you want some payback for that? Come on, I know you want it. I know you with the critical health. You definitely want some of this. Come on. I mean, you have to die someday. Why not today? And apparently that got him.
What? Incoming!
Alright. And let's get the dwarves out of here in case the fetch manages to get a shot off. The fetch that now is running... You know, I can't entirely fault the fetch for deciding to run away in this situation. That's probably what I would be doing. If that was a single dwarf and I was controlling it, I would totally be having it just run away. But it will try to ambush everybody else if I let it live, so it has to die. Okay. And now we have a group of Mircridia that are just kind of patrolling. There are going to be a number of those throughout this level where they're just kind of running back and forth in a part of the level, and we need to get past them. It's probably possible to sneak past them, but I always end up killing them anyway. The main thing is just keep walking in formation and keep an eye to the mini-map. Of course, the second one is something you really need to be doing no matter what. Even though I frequently forget to do that. Just advance at a reasonable speed and keep an eye on the map.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. At this point, just let the melee units handle it. Oh, come on!
Casualty.
Come on, Heron Guards. How did you miss that? You just let him run past you? Okay. I'd fire every one of you, but I need you still. Well, that's two. We're now down 2 bowmen because the Heron Guards just kind of failed to notice one of the Mircridia. Nice job, guys. Well, it's possible to make it through the rest of this with 6. It's just a lot less easy. Especially because the final part of this mission, really, your bowmen are more important than any other unit type. For right at the end. Unfortunately, bowmen are squishy and don't handle melee combat very well. The wimps.
Ready.
It should be a decent distance before the next group, but it's important to be careful. Because sometimes there's a small ambling group of Mircridia that you forgot about. Okay, let's not let any of them get past us this time, okay? Okay. No further casualties, that's good. I am going to heal this Heron Guard, though.
Yes, sir?
Okay. And I believe the next group... there might be another one of those patrols that I managed to forget... Oh, yeah, there is something I managed to forget about. It's this.
Ready.
I see that... So, 4 fetch and 4 soul... 3 fetch and 4 soulless with no other accompanying units. I see this enemy composition in my nightmares. Okay. Send some Heron guards in on both sides.
Stand clear. Got it.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, I can't believe I managed to forget about that group considering how much it terrifies me.
What?
That team composition is just the bane of my existence. Also, Ulrich has yet to kill something this mission, though that's about to change. In fact, this is actually as good of a position as any. Some of the bowmen on either side. Or some of the Heron guards on either side, I mean. And instead of sending a Heron guard in to lure the enemy out, I'm sending in Ulrich. You may be able to guess what I have planned. Because there's a rather large group of enemies here, and it includes one of the largest groups of Mircridia in this entire level. Yeah, these guys. Actually, I have a specific plan I want to try first, so I'll start by sending in a Heron guard. Because I have an idea. I'm not certain that it will work, but I'm going to try it. Let's see how many of them I can lure all at once. Come on, guys. You know you want some. Okay, I can only lure this group at a time. Well, time for our first use of contagious exploding. Unfortunately, I can only afford to spend one dispersal dream on this specific fight, so this smaller group of Mircridia is going to have to be taken out the old-fashioned way. It's only 7 of them. Okay, here they come. And there's another group that's only 4. The smaller groups can be taken out more easily with conventional weapons, but the big group pretty much requires magic. Okay.
Stand clear. Yes.
Melee units, get in there now. Okay, fortunately, I actually need to heal one seriously injured bowman, which means I need to...
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to be able to do that in the midst of this fight. However, if I can use the Heron guards as meat shields for the bowmen... There we go. And the Soulless is just completely ignoring the high ground it could have retreated to and just running in a straight line back up. Okay, and there's still 4 more Mircridia and several Thrall, but before we get to taking them on, we're going to need some healing, because used up heals are still less of a problem than actual fatalities. Fortunately, I don't have very many heals left. I'm down to 3.
What?
Alright, 3 is not very many. Continue watching this channel for other scintillating observations. Actually, okay, let's get these guys like this. And now we need to trigger the other 4 Mircridia, and I believe killing all of the Mircridia will get the attention of the Thrall. Yep. Stay there. Okay, who's next for the meat grinder? Come on, you know you want some of this. Come here, cowards. And there we go. Of course, it's entirely possible that their indecisiveness will... Oh, and we also have fetch. And yet, yep, I can't lure them back that far. Okay. Well, let's reposition a little bit. Move the dwarves forward a little. Okay, let's see if I can lure... Ah, no, I don't want... See if I can lure them this far without accidentally ordering the dwarves into melee range again. Here, Mircridia, come on. You know you want some. Come on, our skulls are perfectly shaped to form into large, flat platforms like I know you guys love to do. But no, they won't run forward that far. Means I need to move my guys even further forward. It's weird, so this single group of enemies has units that will move different maximum distances. Come on, come on. Enough dancing, start fighting. So at this point, with all this running back and forth, I'm half expecting the Mircridia to just, like, break out into a dance routine. They've just been That's the thing. While we were fighting our way through their compatriots, they were just working on their choreography. That's what they've been doing. Okay, now it's the melee unit's turn. And now it's the dwarves' turn again. Oh, no it isn't. Take out the fetch now. Didn't realize the fetch had made it that far forward. Okay, everyone who is not a bowman, retreat. Bowman, take out the fetch now.
Stand clear.
Okay. Okay, the fetch are dead. My blood pressure is gradually returning to normal. Let's take out the thrall. Just a nice, relaxing display of thrall being blown up. Okay. Now we're just going to need to continue falling back a little bit to get some distance, because I'm not wasting the health of the melee units on this this group of thrall.
Stand clear.
Especially not when I can do this. You circle around this way.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And the bowman actually can probably take out the remaining thrall. The bowmen have done a lot of work this level. Between the Mircridia, the fetch, the soulless, and occasionally pulling cleanup duty on the thrall. Okay, is anybody injured enough to warrant one of my 3 remaining heals? Not yet, but close. But with this group dead, I've finally reached the halfway point of this level. Yes, really, this level is that big. This is the halfway point.
Yes.
And once again, it's time to get back into that old standard formation. Okay, let's move a few more guys. And we're now directly opposite Soulblighter. We started off next to him, and now we're directly opposite to him. And he's facing the other way now. He was facing this way before, now he's facing this way. Like, he can't be bothered to look at us, so he turns around to make sure that he's facing away from us. You're not fooling anybody, Soulblighter. I know you're afraid of what we'll do when we get to you.
What?
And we get to cross this really cool looking lava bridge structure. Also, there are enemies on the bridge, but there aren't any major groups. There are just some small groups of roving Mircridia. Because, yeah, I've reached a point in this game where where small groups of Mircridia are not even considered a serious threat anymore. Remember back when even a single Mircridia was a big deal? Pepperidge Farm remembers. But the main thing is just move slowly across the bridge, and as I keep saying, keep an eye to the mini-map, and you'll be warned of them before you have to fight them. The other thing is that I'm now approaching the part of the level where I'll have to fight against Mahir again, because they're in this level too. They're only in the last 2 levels, but they are in both of them, and the Mahir can cause some significant problems. It's important to be very careful when dealing with them.
Ready.
And our first catch of the day. What am I saying? It's our first catch of the bridge. Alright, Ulrich, you go in too. Okay, and you warrant a heal now. And that leaves us with 2 remaining. Though, the minimal fatalities does bode pretty well so far. Having only lost 2 bowmen is going to make the later portion of this level a lot more manageable. On the other hand, it's very easy to lose bowmen and dwarves to the Mahir. Well, their lore is different and their actual abilities are different. The Mahir operate kind of like super ghouls. They do the same thing ghouls do, where they rush in to try to take out your ranged units and your explosives units, and they just try to run past your melee units. The difference is, since you can barely see them, can't click on them when they're moving, and they're incredibly fast, they're actually better at it than the ghouls are. But it's they fundamentally do the same job.
Yes, sir?
Ah!
Yes?
Right, I'm not even managing to click on the ground correctly. I managed to miss the ground.
Yes?
This is why I'm not good at first-person shooters, as anyone who watched my System Shock 2 playthrough will be able to attest.
What now?
Yes, sir?
And more roving Mircridia.
Sir?
Haven't quite reached the Mahir portion of the level yet, but we will very soon. In the meantime, I don't want to move any farther forward before we take out these Mircridia. So, let's get their attention. Around here, this oddly black portion of the map is where we'll start seeing them. But we have something else we have to kill first. Okay, we have the Mircridia's attention. Hopefully they won't change their minds.
What?
Ready. Yes, sir? Move over.
Okay.
Stand clear.
Okay, not only no fatalities, but no damage. Now, the strategy for dealing with the Mahir is going to be a bit odd.
What?
Because the issue is, if I try to just walk through with my bowmen and my dwarves in tow, they're likely to get murdered. So what I'm doing is I'm going to leave Ulrich and a couple of Heron Guards with the bowmen and dwarves, and then I'm just going to send the rest of the Heron Guards to clear the Mahir out. Because I've mostly reached the point in the level where the melee units are a lot less necessary than the ranged and explosives units are. So now I'm just going to send the Heron Guards in as bait to hopefully get the Mahir's attention so that they can kill them. Along with occasional lone Mircridia. Can't really afford to try to run away from them, so instead I'm just gonna fight.
Casualty.
What? Didn't think the Mahir would come this far over this way. Okay, so we managed to lose a bowman, putting us at 5. That isn't good. 5 is still a number that can be enough, though. This shadow looks slightly out of place. I think it's a Mahir, but I might be wrong. I'm also going to send a couple Heron Guards back to join the bowmen in case they need them. That's why I left some melee units behind to guard them. But they are getting attacked. See if I can lure enough of them out. There's a limit to how many of them there are, so if we can just kill all of them, that will solve the problem. But they do seem to be very strongly biased in favor of attacking ranged units. And they also don't show up on the minimap, apparently. Come on, guys. You know you want some. We're following a walk order, which means we can't auto-attack you. Come on. Okay, it looks like luring them out isn't going to work. They're just going to need to try to walk through here and hope that we've taken out enough of them. Which means there's a very high risk of losing ranged units in this area. Okay, so we want some of the dwarves and bowmen, and the dwarves and bowmen in the middle, with some of the Heron Guards in the front and some of them in the back. We also want to stick to the middle of the passage because the Mahir are like soulless. They can hover, so they can float on the edges of this passageway, and we want to avoid dealing with them when they're just rushing in from the side. Fortunately, the area where they can attack is relatively small. Well, the main issue is that since they don't show up on the map, it's easy to lose track of them. Just keep some Heron Guards towards the back so that it's harder to get surprised. And if we lose only one bowman, that's unfortunate but acceptable. The thing is, I've never been able to figure out where they hide. Like, I should be able to target them when they're not moving, but I can never even find them. They just seem to appear out of nowhere. However, when we've reached this point, they will no longer attack. Okay, 5 bowmen and 3 dwarves, and all of the Heron Guards still. So the bowmen have taken all of the casualties for this part of the mission. For the mission up to this point, I mean. I suppose technically everything up to this point counts as a part of the mission.
Ready.
Get into that standard formation and lead with Ulrich. This is a part that can be done by conventional means. The dispersal dream is not absolutely necessary. It's possible to set up a whole bunch of satchel charges well in advance to take out the Mircridia. It, however, isn't really wise to do that. Okay, the next thing we have to deal with is soulless. There are also fetch as a part of this group in addition to the thrall. The Thrall themselves are a minimal threat. I can also afford to use Ulrich as a meat shield for my other units. He heavily resists basically every form of damage except melee. He's durable against melee attacks, just not to the same degree that he is against things like lightning and even javelin and stuff. Alright.
Move over.
Okay, fall back.
Got it.
Get the dwarves back. Get everyone back. And I think Ulrich's gonna need to contribute something to taking out this fetch. This does allow me to exploit something. Ulrich massively resists. Ulrich resists lightning damage more than the Thrall do. So it's actually possible to have Ulrich get into melee combat with the Thrall, bait the fetch into attacking Ulrich, and then the fetch will actually destroy their own allies. Okay, you pull back. Okay, no, ignore the soulless. Take out the. Okay, get back into normal formation.
Yes, sir. Move over.
Okay, Ulrich. Okay, Ulrich is basically functioning as a tank for the fetch lightning. This time it wound up being unnecessary, but I'm basically just using Ulrich as a lightning rod. He attracts the lightning attacks since he will survive them. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Not entirely comfortable with how close we are to the Mahir territory in case we didn't kill all of them. But I have no real way of determining that because they seem to be invisible unless they're causing problems for me.
Okay. Make a hole. Get out of the way.
Yes.
Make way for the dwarf.
Stand clear.
Okay.
Never
Okay. I believe we have 2 Mandrake roots
Yes, sir.
left, and I know who's getting each of them. Let me make sure we actually have 2, or alright, we have 2. So this guy is getting 1 because melee will be fairly important in the
Yes.
final confrontation, and the critically injured bowman is getting the other. Okay. 5 bowmen, 3 dwarves, 12 heron guards. This is a force that I can work with. And it's gonna be a little. We've actually cleared out everything except everything up to Soulblighter. But there's gonna be a final confrontation with Soulblighter, and that's gonna take a bit of a toll. And I still have 1 dispersal dream left. I know exactly how I plan to use it. And now it kind of makes sense for Soulblighter to be turned around, because now he's facing the direction that we will be facing when we arrive, and so it's like he's confronting us. But it is kind of funny that he turns around as soon as we reach this point. Like he's turning around in anticipation of us making it here. And lead with Ulrich again, because we're approaching the group that will receive the final dispersal dream. Just one final confirmation. Oh, I have another Mandrake root. Well, this bowman is getting it. That was our last heal, but everybody is in good enough condition. And this group gets the final dispersal dream. This is a much smaller group than usual. This group could be taken out by conventional means. The reason why I typically use a dispersal dream on them, frankly, is because I can't be certain that my dwarves will still be alive by the time I get to this fight. And so I save a dispersal dream for that group, because if I don't have living dwarves when I get to this fight, then I really can't take them out without one. And if I do have my dwarves alive, I can still just not have to deal with that group and not have to take the risk of losing them. But dwarves are actually arguably the least important unit in the final confrontation, and bowmen the most important unit. Alright. And there we go. And now for the final showdown.
Sir?
Can you feel it, Ulrich? I have killed the whole world!
You are mistaken, Soulblighter. You have only killed yourself. Hold them off.
Yep, now Soulblighter will summon the last of his forces to attack us from a distance, to attack us here, and we just need to stall while Ulrich kills Soulblighter.
Ready.
Come on, take out the fetch, take out the fetch. Okay. The forces, there are going to be Mircridia, but the majority of what's going to come at us now is going to be Fetch and Soulless, and those are the ones that are going to be really dangerous. It's possible to overcome the Mircridia that show up just with melee units, because there are few enough of them, if the majority of the Heron Guards are still alive, that is. Not to say that the dwarves aren't helpful, just that they aren't strictly necessary. Fun, though. Okay, got a fetch coming around the corner. Get the dwarves out of the way.
Make a hole.
Okay. Get the Heron Guards in to take out that... Never mind, the bowmen got it.
Yes.
That's the thing, when the Mircridia start doing their critical health dance, it freezes them in place long enough that it's usually possible to just finish them off. Dwarves over this way, and the bowmen to take out the Soulless. Let's send a Heron Guard over there to further harass them. Okay, just get the dwarves out. They don't have enough distance to take out that Mircridia. Okay, get you guys back. That one Heron Guard can take out that Soulless, and he may die doing it, but that's an acceptable loss, honestly. Okay, he can't take on those two Mircridia, though, but he can lure them into a trap. And possibly die in the process.
Casualty.
So what just teleported in? Two more Mircridia. Okay.
Move over.
Casualty.
So the Heron Guards have really endured the brunt of the casualties so far. And we got another fetch on the docket. Okay. This is, the sheer number of fetch by itself is enough of a reason why the bowmen are very important in this level. This is why I winced a little bit every time I lost one of them. Because every bowman that you lose makes this segment noticeably harder. And that's it. We got him. And Soulblighter has been dropped into the lava. Suffice it to say he is not having a good day.
Monday, May 4th, 7 gates. The fallen lords are dead, and the dark has fled the land. Now we return to the difficult task of rebuilding. It will take many years to restore our cities and recover our farmlands, and this time we will remain vigilant. I have chosen to follow the Emperor and his Heron Guard back to Mjolnir. There is nothing left for me in Strand, the place of my birth. I have become fast friends with Nine Skull Crocodile, the man who has healed the many wounds I received during the assault on Tharsis. He is ancient even by Heron standards, and speaking with him has given me some insight into what has happened to our world. There are laws that govern the workings of the universe that have remained immutable for countless eons. According to these laws, the forces of light and dark hold dominion over the world successively, the land belonging in turn to men or to monsters. Each cycle would be presaged by the appearance of a great comet, foretelling the rise of savior or destroyer. Each golden age would give way to one of darkness, when foul things would stir beneath the earth and evil spirits would plague the land. In turn, each dark age would fall to one of light. The evil would pass from the land, just as the comet from the sky. The saviors of each golden age were men who had risen to face the dark and never turned away. They were men of unflinching heroism who would not rest until they had loosened the bloodless grip of wicked things which had dominated their lands. Many of these heroes were doomed to return in the following age as fallen lords, destroying all they had fought so hard to preserve. Although the hero of every age of light is different, every dark age is ushered in by the same beast, a transient divinity that seeks only conflict, the Leveler. And so Tiresias returned as Moagin to end the Age of Reason, and Connaught, the great hero of the Wind Age, returned as Balor to lay waste to the greatest empire the world had ever known. The Leveler was never killed. He was immobilized by sorcery, beheaded, and burned at the stake in the Second Era. 1,000 years later, he was drawn and quartered on the plains before Ilium, the tireless horses dragging the pieces of his lifeless body to the four corners of the world. Again, in the Fourth Era, his body was destroyed by fire, his ashes mixed with salt and buried under the mountains of Kor. Balor, Moagin, and all those before them wore the mantle of the Leveler. When I stated that Balor was vanquished but 60 years ago, Nine Skull nodded thoughtfully. Soulblighter was not the Leveler. He may have been if he had survived into the next millennium, but in his attempt to force the cycle, he perished, and almost certainly will suffer at the hands of those who set it in motion. It is even conceivable that because of his actions, the cycle has been broken, but we cannot be sure. At least, not for another 940 years. Nine Skull chuckled, saying that with a little luck, he may still be around to see. He told me about old Mjolnir, describing it with words that seemed out of place coming from such a grizzled warrior. He spoke of its many spired palaces and monuments, and the grand bazaar during each year's harvest. When I told him that I wished I could have seen the city at the height of its power, he said I might see it in my lifetime. Then he told me that next year the Heron Guard will be reinstating the septennial tournament to fill out their ranks. Men of bravery and warriors of renown from every corner of the Empire will gather to compete for the honor of joining them. I will be there.
And that's it. That's the end. With the ending, we get a little bit more of the backstory of how, more of an explanation of how this world works, and including somewhat of an explanation of what happened in the previous game. And let's look at the results. So it only lost 3 bowmen and 2 Heron Guards in total, and the bowmen actually inflicted the majority of the damage. The dwarves got the most kills, but not by a lot. And yeah, 200, so it wasn't as close to 300 as I thought. 247 kills, 104 Thrall, 94 Miracridia. And the heroes for this mission were Ulrich and the 3 dwarves. It's kind of what you'd expect. Ulrich has the contagious exploding, and the dwarves have good old-fashioned exploding like Mother used to make. But that is the end of Myth 2. I'm gonna be honest, I had a lot of fun with this project. It got difficult a couple of times, especially recording for this level, actually. This is, I think, my 5th or 6th attempt. I was a little out of practice going into this, and it kind of showed. But I just kind of want to say, I love this game. This is one of my favorite games, honestly. I've been playing this game ever since I was a kid, and I've loved the gameplay, and I've also always been fascinated with, like, the setting and the story, and just this is a game that has been with me for a long time, that will stick with me for probably forever. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this project, because nobody has heard of Myth anymore at this point. And I just wanted to, in my own small way, bring some attention to this game, because this game just really deserves it. This game is amazing. In all seriousness, if you like what you see, I believe you can find the game on Amazon still for not very much money, and I really recommend it. You can download, if you're worried about it running properly on modern computers, there's actually a fan-made patch that adds some nice extra features and debugging, and also allows it to run comfortably on modern computers. So I'll include a link to where you can get the patch in the description too. Seriously, if you like what you see, I encourage you to check it out. This game is awesome. And whether you're interested in checking this game out or not, I still want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the project. I love you all, and I will see you next time when I'll be playing, I haven't actually decided that yet, so I guess we'll find out next week. I love you all, and I will see you then.